But we have lots of news to start our morning. So let's start here from Los Angeles, where former TV anchor Don Lemon has now been arrested and is expected in federal court today. The DOJ is claiming the TV journalist was part of a protest that disrupted a church service in St. Paul, Minnesota earlier this month after reports that the pastor was an immigration and customs enforcement official. But Lemon says he was there covering the protest. Attorney General Pam Bondi posting this on X, saying, at my direction early this morning, federal agents arrested Don Lemon, Traherne Jean Cruz, Georgia Fort, and Jamil Lydell Lundy in connection with a coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. CBS News correspondent Ian Lee comes to us live from Minneapolis. He's been covering all of this morning. So, Ian, what more do we know about this arrest and how it happened?
Well, this arrest happened on Thursday. Federal agents went to arrest Don Lemon, and he is being charged with the FACE Act. Now, it's important to note this incident happened 2 weeks ago at City's Church in St. Paul. Don Lemon was in there when protesters disrupted this church service. Don Lemon was trying to interview people during that church service or during the disruption. An appellate court here in Minnesota declined to bring these charges against him. And so we heard that Pam Bondi, from her direction, she ordered that his arrest. And so this still seems like it's going to be an uphill battle for the federal government, with the fact that a court has already said that they weren't going to have these charges against him.
All right, so one of the charges has to do with the FACE Act. Ian, what is the FACE Act?
So the FACE Act has several components to it. The first component is to help people who want access to an abortion clinic or reproductive health, that no one can block their access. But if you keep reading down, there's another section to the FACE Act, and I'm going to read it to you. It's a bit of legal jargon, but just stay with me. It prohibits by force or threat or threat of force or by physical obstruction, intentional injuries, intimidates or interfere with or attempt to injure, intimidate or interfere with. So a lot of things there. Any person lawfully exercising or seeking to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. And I think that's the key part there. This group of people, protesters, did, from when you look at the video, disrupt this church service. So will this be a violation of a FACE Act? And that is going to be for judges to decide. What's interesting also about it is this is really a conflict of the First Amendment. You have freedom of worship, freedom of the press, freedom to protest. And so judges are going to have to determine how does that all stack up. Now, I should point out that the FACE Act has been challenged in courts many times before, and it has been upheld. So that's something also to keep looking at. We also have the Committee to Protect Journalists. They came out with a statement. They said the arrest of journalist Don Lemon in connection with his reporting on a protest in Minnesota should alarm all Americans. Instead of prioritizing accountability and the killing of 2 American citizens, the real Donald Trump administration is devoting its resources to arresting journalists. This behavior has no place in the United States. So again, this will be up to the courts to decide if this FACE Act had been violated. But as we saw from a previous court ruling, it is an uphill battle.
Yeah, and Ian, I just wonder how you and other journalists, because obviously there's a ton of attention on what's happening in Minnesota today and in the past few weeks. How are you processing this moment as someone whose job it is to observe and record newsworthy moments?
Well, when you have situations like this, and I have been in plenty of them around the world. I have been arrested in Libya, in Egypt, and other countries while reporting as a journalist. And so, anytime journalists are detained by police or they are arrested or roughed up, it does send a message. The freedom of the press is in the First Amendment in our Constitution for a reason. But, that being said, a court did say that he hadn't violated the FACE Act, or at least they weren't going to bring these charges against him. So, the court system will go through this. And, it is a high bar because the First Amendment is such a protected those rights are just so protected. We will have to see how the judges rule.